There are actually people in our government now promising socialism. People say, oh, that's not true. Well, we've now elected people from the Democrat Socialist Party, the Democrat Socialists of America, AOC and the squad. They're members of the Socialist Party. It used to be people said, oh, well, I'm not really a liberal, I'm a progressive. Now they're openly admitting they are socialists. My wife and I wrote a book about this. It's called The Case Against Socialism. And people say, well, why do you have to write a book about socialism? Wasn't it debunked 100 years ago? Didn't Milton Friedman and, all the others, didn't they actually debunk? So they did. But if you interview young people right now, 50% of them say, oh, we ought to try socialism. The problem is we've tried socialism. They haven't read their history. Heard of Stalin? Have you ever heard of Hitler? People say, oh, Hitler wasn't a socialist. Well, his party was the National Socialist Workers' Party. Mao, 45 million people died from a famine created by the government. The government came and told the farmers they had to go build earthen dams instead of working the fields. And then they said they had to plant the crops closer. Then they said you had to dig down a 1.5 meters, 3 feet into the ground to plant the seeds. What kind of moron would do that? Well, governments do moronic things and people starve by the millions of people. Why is that important? The head of Black Lives Matter, you may be excited about her because she just bought her $4 million home. And her last home, she's not really for a wall on our southern border, but there's kind of some riffraff getting around her house. So she's building a wall around her house to keep people away from her house. But the head of Black Lives Matter wrote a book last year, and there's an interview. A woman comes up to her, and it's a YouTube interview. And they said, oh, I loved your book. Your book was so good. It reminded me of Mao and of Mao's Little Red Book. In Mao's China, you were forced to carry the book with you. He printed them by the billions, but you had them on you or they beat you. But the book was Marxism, socialism, the government owns everything, and it led to famine. But the head of Black Lives Matter is just giggling away saying, you get it, you get it. You understand the parallels between my book and Mao's Little Red Book. So the head of Black Lives Matter is either ignorant of history or complicit with violence. There is no in between. You can't be a fan of Mao, but here's the problem. You know who's giving money to Black Lives Matter? Coca-Cola, Major League Baseball, all the big corporations are donating money. You think, is this a conspiracy? Who's paying these rioters that are all over the country? They're staying in $1,000 hotels. They're on planes flying to do rioting and to cause mayhem in our cities. Well, it's unfortunately, it's a big corporation in America, are all woke, and they're all giving money to Black Lives Matter. But this isn't like the NAACP. This isn't against racism. These are racists that you're giving the money to. These are people teaching that the black kids should sit on one side and the white kids sit on the other side, and we should tell all of them that the white kids are the oppressors. That's what they're wanting to teach in our schools. There are people who are admittedly and openly fans of Mao Zedong, the guy who killed millions of people in China.
All right, folks, buckle up, because tonight we're diving into one of Rand Paul's most blistering takedowns of AOC, the Squad, and the entire modern socialist revival happening right under our noses. If you thought the debate over socialism was long buried with the Berlin Wall, well, apparently not. And Rand Paul is here with a reminder sharper than a cactus in a balloon factory. Rand Paul isn't merely venting about AOC or the Squad. He's sounding the alarm about an ideology that history has tried, repeatedly, to warn us about. When elected officials proudly wear the socialist badge, when activists praise Mao as if he was some quirky philosopher, and when corporations bankroll movements without understanding their roots, we're not witnessing progress. We're recycling the same disastrous ideas that plunged nations into famine, oppression, and totalitarianism. This isn't just about political labels. It's about recognizing the pattern before it hardens into policy. Young people are being sold a polished, Instagram-friendly version of socialism that has nothing to do with the deadly reality it produced in the 20th century. And instead of pushing back with honesty and historical clarity, our institutions are cheering from the sidelines. If we want a freer America, a stronger America, an America where opportunity isn't squeezed by the state, then we can't shrug off this ideological creep as harmless. We can't pretend that history won't repeat itself simply because we've rebranded the terminology. Rand Paul is right to call it out. And we'd be fools to ignore the warning. If you're tired of watching failed ideologies get glamorized, if you want a country that learns from history instead of repeating it, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this video. Let's push the conversation with facts, not fantasies.